Coming up next, I'm at the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio. Hi, I'm Paul. I like to go fast. I like things that go fast. And I love things that make a lot of noise when they go fast. And I like to laugh. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The world's fastest MCX. I used to do this for a living on TV. Now I just do it for fun. Welcome again to my channel. Hi everybody, and I'm at the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio. This is a massive museum, and if you're into aviation, this is a must stop on your bucket list. So it's divided up into a bunch of different sections, starting out with the beginning of flight, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Southeast Asia, Cold War Gallery, and then of course the jets and things like that. Amazing planes that we see here today. In the early years gallery, you'll see a lot of Orville and Wilbur. This is one of their first attempts. A great recreation about their first flight. The construction on this is just amazing. And you know, you got to think back to a time when this is how it all started. I mean, they were just hanging out there on wings made out of fabric and airplanes made out of wood, yet it worked. This is one of the training aircraft for World War II pilots now, and they recreated this pretty well. You can see that the aircraft overflew the end of the runway, some barbed wire fence, the mechanics looking at how to fix this, and the instructor kind of yelling at the student saying, "Hey, wait, but." The automobile industry was heavily involved in early aviation. This is a Packard 3A 2500 engine, horsepower 800 horsepower, but it weighed a ton, 1,425 pounds. 12 cylinders. This is actually pretty cool. This is an aircraft starter truck, and this big thingy on the front got attached to the prop, and then they spun the prop and started it.
Buck starter.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be around when this happened. I'm in the World War II exhibit right now, and one of the cool things, well, there's a lot of cool things. This was the link trainer. This is how pilots learned. And essentially the guy who invented this, it was big with amusement parks before the government actually bought it to use it. So the pilot would sit inside. As you see him there, they close the cockpit right there, and he was flying instruments, and he would get instructions from the instructor over here telling him where to fly. There was also simulated slipstream in the air, and they could track his movement on a piece of paper on a plotting thing. So this is the early simulators. This display shows the B-25 used in Doolittle's raid, where they took off and they bombed Tokyo from the aircraft carrier, the USS Hornet. Really, really realistic. You can see the engines are all covered up just before takeoff, the pilot talking to the ground people. They carried extra fuel for the flight. It was actually in a bladder and loaded below. Here you're actually on the carrier deck, and you can see them loading up the bombs, getting ready for their mission, and the extra ammunition. This little bad boy is a Culver PQ-14B, and actually it's a remote control, radio controlled drone that they used. It had a Franklin 0300 engine in it, 150 horsepower. Actually it moved pretty quick at 185 miles an hour. It flew for a while too at 362 miles and all the way up to 17,000 feet. Here's another example. This is the OQ-2A aerial target, and this was launched by a catapult on the ground and controlled by a controller on the ground, pretty much like we do now with RC planes, but it did not land. It was actually parachute deployed, and that's how they got it back to the ground. It could fly for almost an hour. It could fly up to 8,000 feet. It was actually pretty heavy at 108 pounds. This is the most probably the most famous B-17 in existence. It's the Memphis Bell, and it took like 25 years for them to restore this. So the Memphis Bell flew 25 missions over Europe, and that didn't happen a lot. It's pretty cool. I mean, the detail on this is just simply amazing.
19-year-old Nastal flew 25.
And I did not know that on the Memphis Bell.
Harold Locke of Green Bay, Wisconsin, flew 5 missions as a waist gunner on the Memphis Bell, and then became its flight engineer and top turret gunner.
This is a really cool little plane from the Germans late in the war effort. The Me-163 rocket-powered. It was a defensive fighter, and so it took off with a rocket motor in the back, and then the cradle would fall, and then it would climb to altitude and strafe bombers and things like that, and then glide back down to Earth. What happened was that the propellant in it was so dangerous that a lot of them would just blow up even before takeoff, and they actually put this little spinner on the front. There's no engine in there. It was just kind of like, I guess, to fool our guys, but not so much. Never really was effective. And there actually was a Japanese version of that. I actually have an RC model. So the Japanese copied this. They got plans for it, smuggled them into the country. Theirs were orange and white. I guess they flew a couple, but never really got it into any type of operational support for the war. A cool little plane. Okay, made it to the Southeast Asia display area, and of course right straight in front and center is the B-52, and this is actually one massive aircraft. I mean, as you go down you can see the engines, and all the way down, the wing is all the way down there where my buddies Todd and Tim are right now. This one was shot up a lot during Vietnam and actually retired. It had like 20 bullet holes in it. Stuff got shot off, but it managed to come back. You can see the rippling on the side right there. But they brought it back and landed it and flew it to the museum here, and then it's since been retired. One of these flew into Oshkosh, I think it was last year, and we got to actually walk underneath it. And I mean, to be up close and personal and look in the bomb bays and things like that, it's amazingly big. Here's a cockpit of it, and you know, with 8 engines, there's a lot of knobs there. And look at all the gauges, and actually an early glass cockpit maybe version. And then if you look over here, I mean, look at all the buttons and knobs. It took a lot to fly this plane. What the heck is this? It's called the Lifeboat from the Sky. This actually was carried by modified B-29 bombers. It's known as the bombers were known as the SB-29. Carried these boats as they were in formation above Korea. Could carry 15 people, was equipped with food and water for several days. Also had a small engine and propeller. It was self-riding. Features covers that would keep it out of the sun, and it's kind of cool. It's like an airplane canoe. That's what they looked like when they dropped them out of the sky. Okay, this is day 2 of the Air Force Museum in Dayton, and right behind me is this massive B-36. We're going to take a quick walk around it and just show you how big it is. This is the nose gear, and the tires actually come at least more than half my height. And look at the wing section over there. It actually goes over a couple of different airplanes, and we're going to take a walk up to the main landing gear. You got to see this for sure. So look how big that is, and it goes up there. And then the tires. Okay, so that's me right there. Here's the size of the tires compared to me. They're just massive. And this is the bomb bay. The bomb bay. Look how just, I mean, and it goes down. There's the guys I came with. Well, Look at all the wiring. It's big.
Oh my.
This F-16 on Thunderbirds is kind of special to me. It was in 2014 at EAA AirVenture that they flew in, and I had a model, I had an RC model of this, and we took it up to where the pilots and the crew were and had it autographed, and one of the people that autographed it was the woman pilot from northern Wisconsin, Carolyn Bong Jensen, and my daughter Megan and I still keep in touch with her today. This is the B-1B. It's flown into Oshkosh several times, and my cousin knows a pilot that if they get a call that they have to start it, they hit the button that's the alert start right there, and there's a ladder button, and then the ladder comes down here, and in that process the engine's already spooled up. They hop in a cockpit and they go. This is one of the coolest planes here. This is the B70 Valkyrie. This was a Mach 3 test bed. 6 engines on the back. There were 2 of them built. One actually crashed while they were doing a photo op. And on the back of the wings, I don't know if you can see it, on that line right there, they kind of tilt down a little bit. That was to create more lift on the speeds. Look at the intakes in that. About 20 years ago was my first trip here to the museum, and the Northrop Blue was actually sitting outside because there was no room in the hangars. This was a test bed for modern stealth technology. Kind of looks like an upside down bathtub. This is pretty cool too. This is the Avro Canada VZ9A Avro car, and it was developed to hover and also go supersonic, but that never really happened. They only built a couple of them, and there really were no takers, but it was pretty cool in its day. This is a fun concept. This is the Ryan X13 Vertijet, and so designed in the late 50s. It was going to take off from this bed that it's on right now, the yellow bed, fly around and then come back and actually land the same way, same configuration that it's in right now. And it actually worked, but there really wasn't any market for it, so this is all the farther it got. The YF-23, forever known as the runner-up to the Raptor. Looked pretty cool though. I really like the design of that, but they chose the Raptor instead. Here's the last one I'm going to show you, gang. This is a really cool airplane. It's the X85 Goblin, developed by McDonnell Aircraft. And the thought of this was that it would hang below a large bomber, and they could release it and it could take off and do short missions, and then come back on that hook. So the pilot would fly right up to the connector on the bomber, and then just be connected and then get refueled, and then they go off for the next mission. It did not work out really well, so, but it was a cool little airplane anyway. What's the coolest airplane I saw here at the Air Force Museum? I don't know, it's all cool. And you really do need almost 2 days to get through the entire museum. But I had a great time. I hope you guys can make it down here to Dayton sometime. Thanks for watching, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.